Former President Rawlings is asking President John Mahama to speed up efforts at fighting corruption amidst calls from all angles, including his party members, describing the Mahama-led administration as corrupt and inefficient.
I don't know how Harry would have felt about the situation the country finds herself in today. The young president is doing what he can, and he's invited all to get involved in fighting some of the negative tendencies in the country. I sincerely hope that we will be able to restore some sanity, some semblance of sanity in the not too long future.
Yesterday, the flag bearer, the vice presidential candidate of the NPP in the 2012 presidential election, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, was quoted to have said Ghana's economy, after 5 years of NDC, is in reverse gear. This was during a speech delivered at the first Alhaji Ali Mahama Memorial Lecture. Though this speech has received a lot of media attention since it was delivered, how can we collectively, as Ghanaians, help the fight or the government to fight corruption? This is today's big story. My name is Bright Nana Amfo. Thanks so much for staying there for us. Now, former President Rawlings, who made a call this afternoon when he paid a visit to the late family of Harry Sawyer, said that the fight against corruption demands efforts of every Ghanaian. He said that President Mahama is doing well, but he needs support to be able to fight the canker. Let's listen to him once more.
With all sincerity, and especially through the trying times that this country had been through, I know we all owe it as a duty to hurry up and record, for the sake of today's generations and generations to come, what this country has been through. I don't know how Harry would have felt about the situation the country finds herself in today. The young president is doing what he can, and he's invited all to get involved in fighting some of the negative tendencies in the country. I sincerely hope that we will be able to restore some sanity, some semblance of sanity in the not too long future. And I say that because I don't think people like Harry and others should be seen to have wasted their lives playing the role they played for this country, in the restoration of values, only for things to end up happening the way they've been happening since we left office.
Former President Rawlings talks about collective responsibility when it comes to fighting corruption. Let me speak to Madam Florence Dennis, the Executive Secretary of Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. Madam, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, and thank you to all listeners.
Now, first of all, let's look at this. Now, the fight against corruption, is it the sole responsibility of the sitting government, opposition parties, or civil society? Which of these three should take the lead in this fight?
Thank you very much. I think the fight against corruption needs the collective action of all stakeholders, both the government, citizens, civil society, private sector, media, and all. However, everybody has a responsibility in one way or the other. The lead example would say is the government, because they are empowered to rule the nation. They are mandated to look after resources of the country.
Right. Madam, go ahead.
They are mandated to look over the resources of the country. However, they have a role to play, and citizens also have a role to play.
Now, let's look at this argument that perhaps the way the opposition supports government to fight corruption would go a long way in ensuring that we deal with this canker. But you do not find the opposition really giving that support. What we see is the opposition playing to the gallery. They come out quickly in the media to report or to make allegations of corruption, but we do not see anything beyond that. Is that what you also see?
I think one of the challenges we have seen over the years is that there is too much politicization of corruption issues. Even if you listen to the airwaves, when an issue comes up, you get, and even on your media platform, you get a divided opinion where one part of the group from another political party would justify that course of act or whatever, and another group would not agree. So this division and politicization sends wrong signals out there and doesn't show the collective sort of decision that we all agree that some of these acts are not right, they are against our development and are not helping us to improve. So the politicization of it for us is key, because and as soon as the bandwagon turns from one party to the other, it turns in the same way. And that does not send even the right signals to let everybody and all of us, also all the ordinary citizens out there, then see that this is actually a corrupt act or this is not act. It depends on where you are. And it's something that if we don't work at, I don't think we are going to get far in our fight against corruption.
Now, quite recently, we had a former majority leader, Mr. Alban Bagbin, criticizing President Mahama for what he says is his inability to fight corruption. Then former President Rawlings says that the young President Mahama is doing well and needs the support of all. Now, do you see this, the calls from within certain government to increase the fight against corruption? Is it very effective in what we're all trying to do as a country?
Let me say that I think I say it's a very recent development, and it's plus to what we are looking at, because you get people within political divide then coming out to take their frustration. And even yesterday also, I heard the majority leader also even talking about how Parliament is being not adequately resourced to play their oversight role, which for me also includes accountability. And it shows that we are also progressing. But as I do agree that we need the collective decision, collective work on everybody on board, but I also think that the political world has been very weak from the top. There has been quite a number of issues that we expected a more proactive action and not allow issues to linger around for a long time, but it hasn't been. And we expect that those that we have put in government do well then to work on it, because the public trust, if you can only get citizens on board, if they have the trust that government is also sending the right signals out there, and then the public will not tolerate any acts of corruption. But where they see that those in leadership, and I'm not talking only about the presidency, but all leadership positions in the country, then it then limits people's capacity to be on board, because they don't see that it's a collective action. And that is what Ghana, I think, we need to do so that everybody comes on board. And the key issue is that I think sometimes we do not relate how corruption affects our daily life.
Right.
We do understand that it is out of corruption that we are not able to get good roads to drive on. We are not getting our hospitals resourced, and our parents and ourselves are dying each and every day. We are not getting good services in terms of water and electricity. We are all directly or indirectly paying for the cost of corruption.
Right. Madam, thanks so much for speaking to me. Madam Florence Dennis is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition. Let me turn my attention to Jacob Osei. He is the independent candidate in the 2012 presidential candidate. He just joins this discussion. Thanks so much for your time, sir.
Thank you, Right. And a very good evening to your voice.
Right, thanks so much. Now, first of all, let's try and put what we're discussing in context. Now, former President Rawlings thinks that corruption is indeed a worry, and he believes that President Mahama, he said he's a young president, is doing well, but he thinks that it needs the support of all. Let us look at the opposition. How well are they helping in the fight against corruption?
Thank you very much. And I think you also assume that I'm also in opposition.
Exactly, you are in opposition because you contested President Mahama.
You see, the most important thing is about the issue of politicization that our first contributor was talking about. But you see, let us define what politics is. Politics is nothing but a methodology or the programs of activities that the government uses in running the nation, or a program of activity of an organization.
Right.
But the way we do politics, I think that as Ghanaians, we have that problem of cultural tendency of our hero. Our hero is Kopuanansi, the wisdom of Kopuanansi. And for that matter, our approach had always been like that. Now, what the former President Rawlings is saying is the right thing. And I support that 100%. And until all of us realizes that corruption is quite endemic, and it's not with the government alone, but it permeates through all institutions, and then even to our very unit of family, we will not be in a position in solving it. Now, as opposition, how best can I help the government in fighting corruption? That is the most important thing. We have the Whistleblower Act, and we have a lot of issues. But if we want to be honest with ourselves and the good people of Ghana, we shouldn't just shout about corruption,
right,
and not doing anything about it, but rather expecting the president alone to be fighting corruption. It's impossible.
Jacob, hold it there. Let me also pick the mind of Mohammed Atik. He is a policy analyst with the People's National Convention. Mohammed, thanks so much for your time. Now, do you think that the way the opposition is fighting corruption is helping government to get rid of this canker, fighting corruption in the media? Precisely, that is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, thank you very much, and let me say good evening to Church Viewers, I suppose. The point is that corruption, the fight against corruption ought to be waged at different levels. And
is that what we're doing?
Not really. You know, there are several levels, including the public level. And the public level entails the fact that the public would volunteer information on certain things that are assumed or perceived to be corrupt. And again, the public level also involves the fact that the public is able to give the necessary support to leadership to ensure that this actually becomes a very distasteful enterprise and that people no longer are attracted to get involved in it. But the point is, the public, in my opinion, in respect to the fight against corruption in this country, the public has been very helpful. The problem is that the most important level in the fight against corruption is the leadership level. And so if former President Rawlings is saying that we should give the president the support, I agree. And that is what I think Ghanaians have been doing.
Now, if you agree, do you see the opposition? I'm talking about the opposition. Do you see the opposition giving that kind of support? The concern is that the battle against corruption is fought by the opposition in the media, and that it is only to catapult them into power. And so they go out in the media, and then
I don't agree entirely. I made the point that I agree with President Rawlings based on the fact that the public already is giving the support to leadership. It's not as if the public laments about corruption and do not do anything about it. A lot of the time, the exposés about corruption are actually brought to the fore by the public. And so the public is already doing that which the president is asking them to do. But like I said, the most important level at which corruption ought to be fought is at the leadership level. And so if President Mahama himself is not showing the needed commitment, it does not matter how much the public to helping him achieve some success in the fight against corruption, he will come to naught.
Mohammed, I'm sure you're not getting me well. This is what I'm trying to.
I agree with you, but I'm coming there. I agree with. I get the point you are making. I'm coming there, but I'm saying that there is some sense of inertia. Politicians will always be. If at the leadership level, which ought to be the most important, is exhibiting some sense of inertia in the fight against corruption, then you would expect that politicians or political parties, in their bid to contribute to the fight against corruption, would take advantage and say that, look, we have several levels at which this fight ought to be waged. The most important level is at the leadership level, but there is failure at the leadership level. So it is only we, or give us the opportunity, and we will make a difference.
All right.
You know, that you can say is a bit, you can say politicians are taking advantage of the situation.
Exactly.
But the general point is that the leader himself must begin to give Ghanaians a cause to believe that indeed he himself is committed. And I think that there are several things he can do, and there are several test cases to which he can prove indeed his commitment to the fight against corruption. But let me say that
Mohammed, still on the line.
Media,
Go ahead.
in the media,
Go ahead.
I think that, in fact, we are actually losing it. We are losing the fight against corruption gradually because everything about corruption is now fought in the media. The issues are brought up in the media. Politicians make the capital they think they can make out of it. And then some consciousness is made. And that is all there is to it. No action is taken further beyond just the media discussion. And I think once that happens, it appears there is I'm seeing a trend that is emerging, in recent times in the fight against corruption or in the discussion about corruption. That an issue comes up, an expose is made. We all discuss it in the media. It gets some hype. And that is all there is to it. It ends. Look, Suba is an example. When this issue came up, we discussed it extensively.
Mohammed, stay there. Let me also get a reaction from Jacob Osei, the independent candidate of the 2012 presidential election. Now, Mr. Osei, Mohammed thinks that the issue comes up and is discussed in the media, but he thinks that the commitment should come from the top in order to fight this. But discussing corruption in the media, he thinks we are losing the war on that front.
That is exactly. You see, one of the things that I think President Mahama is doing is that we've never heard anywhere that he's trying to protect someone who has been labeled as being corrupt in anything.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure everyone will agree with you.
No. I'm coming.
But you go ahead. Go ahead.
What I want to share is that once a leader is allowing all these issues to come up, it's up to the public, and especially the opposition, to take the matter to its critical level. What I mean by that is that democracy is war of ideas fought with the weapons of rule of law. And therefore, if you think that somebody might have gotten himself or herself involved in corrupt act, why not take the person to court? Just like what Martin Amidu did. What I'm actually looking for is that it shouldn't be only election-related issues that we will see political parties taking up that issues to Supreme Court.
So you think that the opposition party must do more than what they are doing now?
Yes. If political parties or anyone cries about corrupt acts, the person should follow the example of Matiamido and go and try that at the law court. It's very important. Other than that, you see, the more noise we make about corruption and allow it to dwindle down, at a point in time, nobody will listen to any corrupt act. Because at this point in time, right, whether we like it or not, we've corrupted almost everything in this country. And if we don't take care, that is actually leading all of us into a state of lawlessness. You name a single thing that we've not attributed corruption to. All our leaders, our chieftaincy, our political leaders, they are all corrupt. Our institutions, the legislature, the judiciary, our intervention institutions like National Peace Council and all of that. So where are we heading towards as a nation? I mean, well, we are not taking any action. Let us test our court to see that those acts that we say that has been involved in corruption is actually the fact. Until we've done that, I think that right, we are actually kidding ourselves as a nation. And for that matter, we better focus our minds in something that can really help us to develop than just shouting in the media about corruption everywhere.
Thank you so much for speaking to me, Jacob Osei, independent candidate in the 2012 election. Mohammed Atik is still on phone. Now, Mohammed, let's still stay on this very particular issue. Now, you believe or you agree with former President Rawlings that the executive or the head needs support. Do you or you do not?
The point is that I think I've made this point already, that it is true that there is a need for public participation in the fight against corruption. I'm asking you
this because you seem to say that you agree with former President Rawlings that the head needs support, and yet you're saying that the onus lies on the head to get things done.
My point is very clear. I'm saying that there is a need to support the leadership to win this fight against corruption. But I'm saying that the public is already doing that. The support that they need to give to the leadership, they are already doing that. So the reason why we're not seeing the kind of dividends we ought to be seeing in respect of the investments the public is making into this fight against corruption is simply because the leadership actually doesn't seem to be supporting the efforts of the public. Because when the public exposes an act of corruption, they support it with discussion and so on. It is for the leadership to take the next action. If you don't, there's no way we can achieve any success. And I disagree entirely with what my brother has said about the fact that I don't know why. I mean, we need to understand what corruption is all about and how corruption is fought. You're asking opposition parties to do like Martinami do. That is the way we can win them. I mean, so why don't we have leadership?
The concern, Atik, the concern is that opposition parties make capital out of shouting corruption in the media. And so,
I told you that in addition to the fact that the public, which includes political parties, already they are doing their bit to ensure that the fight against corruption is won. In the process, there are politicians, they take advantage to say that we have given our support, but it is the leadership that is not acting, and rightly so.
Is that the only thing they can give? Is that the only thing they can give? The support?
No, you see, there is a limit to which you can expect the public, including political parties or politicians, to do. Because, for instance, when we talk about corruption, if you want to vindicate claims against corruption in the law courts, you can't go. There's no express legislation in our law books that says if you are guilty of corruption, this is your punishment. There's no law legislation on corruption.
Okay.
But what we do sometimes talk about is the fact that elements of corruption are what can be vindicated in court, like bribery, like fraud, like conflicts of interest. These are elements of corruption. But you cannot go to court saying that I'm coming to vindicate claims in respect of corruption as an offense. So what, and you see, we all know fraud is a criminal offense, bribery is a criminal offense. And we all know how criminal prosecutions are done. An individual cannot go and sue anybody.
All right.
It is the state that files criminal offenses. Look, there is a limit to which political parties in opposition can do.
Right.
The bigger and most important responsibility lies with the presidency or with the leadership.
All right.
And we don't seem to be seeing much coming from that.
Okay, hold it there. Let me also pick what the CPP thinks about this particular issue. Abu Fogo, national organizer, has just joined me. Now, Mr. Fogo, first of all, political parties, or those of you in opposition, Is that the only thing you can do to support the fight against corruption? You only going out there in the media and shouting about corrupt practices. Is that the only thing you can do?
No. That should not be the only solution. Anyway, could you bring your territory viewers? Now, the issue is that, as the saying goes, that charity begins at home. Look, we need to all stand up as a nation and say that we have to fight corruption. Let's take it even from the basics, even our home. You get up, you get your first employment, and the pressure on you from family members, demands they make on you, as if you'll be able to do some magic. In a family, if you are there and you have a job, and someone else has a different job, you, the fellow within 3, 4, 5 months, the fellow is able to get a car. You, the one with your job, you're not able to even a bicycle or even a motorbike. The family starts respecting the one who has got the car than you, the one who has not been able to even get a motorbike. So we have to start the whole process at the grassroots.
Right. Now, Mr. Fogo, if you say the grassroots, are you talking about political parties? And I want you to tell us clearly, political parties, how they can support the government of the day in this fight.
Now, we would have to start within, disciplining ourselves. When you are going to seek for the mandate from the people, you go with a clear conscience, where you go and present yourself, and let the people know what you want to come to, what you would want to do if you are given the opportunity. But you yourself, as a politician, you go there, and it is that you succumb to people's demands. Give them A, B, C, D for them to put you there. You'll be forced by pressure to also
right. Mr. Fogo, so you're suggesting that for, opposition parties will only shout about corrupt practices because they want to make the government of the day unpopular and get themselves voted into office. That is what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I just want to say. That it shouldn't be only government. We ourselves, we have ourselves to blame until we start changing the things. Then outside will continue to have the situation worsened as we have it in present.
Mr. Abufogo, thanks so much for speaking to the national organizer of the CPP, talking there about corruption. But let me wrap up with Mohammed Atik, the policy analyst of the PNC. Now, Mohammed, if you are there, you heard Mr. Fogo, but let's wrap up this discussion. Which direction should we go?
My brother, you see, I don't know, sometimes certain comments, in my opinion, tend to belittle this all-important governance construct called corruption. To say that opposition political parties only want to make governments unpopular by commenting on corruption, for me, is disabling their committee. I mean, it's an attempt to disable opposition political parties from actively contributing to the discussion. Let's not. You see, corruption is not some abstract concept. It is a key governance issue, and so if politicians or political parties in opposition, and look, let's face it. Everybody knows that corruption makes governments unpopular. Whether opposition people say it or not, it makes you unpopular. That is why it runs counter to the tenets of good governance. So if you have a situation where a government is alleged to have condoned acts of corruption, certainly when there is discussion about it, you would appear to be unpopular. Because that concept itself is an unpopular concept. So let's not make it look as if when politicians in opposition talk about it, it's because they want to make government unpopular. What would you ask? Because we are losing, huge resources to corruption. So it is not just about winning or making governments unpopular, but it's about making sure that there's country resources we have. The government is telling us that we are broke, there's no liquidity.
And that is where the concern is that if you want to make sure we don't lose billions to corruption, then only talking about it or shouting about it on political platforms or in the media is not enough. That is the point.
No, I don't agree that we can. We all know that we can't address issues of corruption by just rhetoric. And for us, the public, and I want to include the political parties in this public category. With the public, our responsibility is to, why do we have Whistleblowers Act? It is because they recognize that the responsibility of the public is to give information on acts of corruption. Then it is for the leadership to act. if we do our bit by exposing it, we talk about it, and politicians go a step further to make capital out of it, it is for government or for leadership to ensure that you give the necessary action or you give the action that is required to ensure that the expose that has come on actually has had some meaning. But it is not as if when people ask for politicians, they will talk about it. But it's for you, the leadership. Start an action and see whether the opposition politicians will still have something to say.
Right.
If they still continue to talk, then we then know that they have other ulterior motives other than fighting corruption.
Right.
Because it has meant that it is not just contributing to the discussion about corruption for the sake of exposing and dealing with it. Then it would have meant that these people are not interested in the fight against corruption, but votes. But if leadership doesn't act,
we might have to end it here, Mohammed. Mohammed, thanks so much, Mohammed, for talking to me. And he is a policy analyst with the People's National Convention. The corruption issues they're discussing the first segment of today's big story. And we'll be talking about the second segment. We'll be telling you something very, very wonderful at the nation's teaching hospital, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We're told that over 1,052 workers just failed to appear to be head counted during the audit. We'll tell you more when we come with Lady Mariam when she joins me on the second part of this. You stay right there. I'm coming back in a minute. Right, so welcome back to today's big story. And the first segment is gone. We're talking about the second segment. We're talking about ghost work. Who's a ghost worker? I haven't seen any. So if Kolebu is talking about over 1,000 of them, it sounds strange. Okay. A ghost worker.
Ghost worker. Your name is on payroll.
Yes.
HR thinks you come to work. But nobody sees you coming to work physically. But at the end of the month, your salary, your account is,
the money gets into your account.
Salary to say that a human being is supposed to be coming here, but no human being comes.
So perhaps some other human beings from other planet are coming on Earth?
That could be very possible, but it's unfortunate.
And they come in spirit, so you don't see them.
There's a 2-in-1 or 3-in-1 human being who collects food for
and
all of them.
is talking about so many of them.
I know. It's amazing. I was at the news conference today, and you should have seen my face. It was gaping like that. Like, are you serious? So if the nurses hadn't agitated for their money, all of this wouldn't have come out.
I would like to see one of these ghost workers. Perhaps I need to have a tea that have
I wish I could be a ghost worker so I can work here, work in another place at the same time.
Welcome, Mariam, to the show.
Thank you so much. Welcome to JN Interactive. My name is Mariam Toure. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is JN Interactive within today's big story, and we are talking about ghost names in Kolebu. But I'd like to announce the social media tools that you need to get in touch with the show. Facebook.com/joynews-on-TV. This is where you have to go to post all your comments, and also, on everything that we post there, comment on it, and we'll share it with the rest of the world. If you're on Twitter, we tweet at JoyNewsOnTV, and remember to use the hashtag JNInteractiveGH, so I'll be able to sort all your tweets that come at once. If you're sending us an email, please send it to joynewsim@multitvworld.com, and the WhatsApp number is 0260518-801. That is where you should send all your pictures, images, any comments that you want, whatever you want us to share with the rest of the world. Send it there, and we will do so. Share it with the rest of the world. And as always, JN Interactive is where tech meets news to set the agenda. But today, this agenda is very, very, very serious because it affects you and I. It affects our pay pockets. It affects everything. The findings of a joint audit conducted by the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the Auditor, Controller and Accountants General reveal an alarming 1,052 staff did not present themselves to be counted, and about 490 are yet to be accounted for. And the audit became necessary after the newly employed nurses protested outstanding salaries for over 22 months. And the hospital held a news conference today to present the findings of the report. It was amazing, staggering. 1,052 people, they don't show up for work yet. They are paid for it. And acting CEO of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, who is Reverend Albert Boche, explains the headcount findings in our first video blog. So we'll take that so that you can hear him tell you everything himself. And then when we come back, we will do some comments.
A total of 4,252 staff of the hospital are on the GOG payroll, while 347 are on our IGF payroll. For the newly employed nurses, they were a total of 423. In total, we have 5,022 staff on the payroll of Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Out of the 4,252 staff on the GOG payroll, only 2,752 personally appeared and checked their names during the head count exercise. An alarming 1,052 number of staff did not present themselves to be counted, and about 490 are yet to be counted from institutions within the Kolebu compound. Staff of these institutions have over the years been counted as staff of Kolebu. With those on the IGF payroll, 287 out of a total of 347 personally checked their names, leaving 60 staff who have not been counted. Of the 423 newly employed nurses, 339 presented themselves for the count, leaving out 84 of them. The findings also revealed that there are staff who passed away, some dismissed, some vacated posts, and those on leave without pay, whose names still appear on the GOG payroll. These are issues that warrant further investigations to come out with reasons for their occurrence.
Okay, so you've heard it from the man himself, and he is the acting CEO of Kolebu, Mr. Albert Boche, there talking to us about it. I'll take some comments and then we'll take some video blogs, and then I'll explain the questions that we've been asking. But here we are asking you to share your thoughts with us on that particular one. I'll try and refresh the iPad. I think what we have here is a very old post. So I'll try and then refresh that for you. But if you're just joining us, I'll give you a precursor to what we are actually talking about at this particular moment, that Kolebu Teaching Hospital, after conducting their head count, has found out that over 1,052 people on the list, are not. They don't go to work. They are just ghost names. So let's take the comments now. And then the hospital says that it is rolling out an e-payroll system to curb this. But will this do the trick? And what should be done to those who are found guilty? And so many of your comments are coming in. It is amazing. 14 minutes ago and almost 50 comments have dropped. This actually shows that you are in control. You watch and then you talk to us about it. Nana Kwesi says, hey, Ghana. Efo says, So where did we go wrong as a nation? It's obvious the e-payroll will do the trick, but heads must roll and all those guilty must face the law. Ghost names, Abreu. So boys, Abre, ghost names on Abre. Fantastic. Ashton Flame says, let the law take its course. Ambrose, they should be cautioned not to repeat it. Roland says, 1,052 ghost names. Too bad. Are we in the end times? God save Ghana. And then Emmanuelson says, hey Julo, you will run like a wet rat. Richie says, I think they should be jailed, period, because we are talking about the state's money. Samuel says, this is very serious. God help us. IC says, I hope it works because those systems are operated by humans. Demder Simon says, yes, it will help. As for those involved, they should be sanctioned accordingly by law. Majida Awudu from Gushegu says, in fact, God has to come down to fight corruption for Ghana. I'll take 2 more comments and we'll take our next video blog. Isahaku says, fire the head. Mamie Fua says, this is not new. It's at all public sectors. They should rather trace where those monies went and arrest the keepers, thieves on top hierarchy, and that is what you are actually thinking. And Newton Jeffers says, I think we waste money, and until that is checked, we will continue borrowing. I think those found guilty should be jailed for life. Nicholas Buama, please, the law of Ghana should take its course. So we'll go and take another video blog, and we've been asking whether you think the e-payroll system will stop the rot at Kolebu, because at this particular moment, if let's say one person is getting 1,000 Ghana cedis and there are 1,000 names, by that is 1 million. And if we're losing 1 million a month, multiply it by 3 years and do the maths. Let's take our next video blog.
I think it's the best. That's the best idea. So the electronic system that they want to put in place, I do support them.
I think it's good. It's not bad. It's not a bad idea, but I think that one too can be tempered with, and I don't know how they are going to do it, but I think it's the best.
Electronic payroll system is actually to prevent ghost name or to avoid fraud, sort of, but for it to be effective, it all depends on the control environment. That is, whatever system you put in place to protect assets in the organization has to do with the management attitude towards that particular system.
And indeed, that is very true in the last comments that the gentleman was saying, you know, management's attitude. And it's amazing because no one can single-handedly go and put a ghost name there if they are not in connivance with somebody else who is at the top, who is able to bypass all of these things. So even if the, you know, e-payroll is introduced and there's one person there who would compromise themselves and let someone bring them a name which they'll put there, then it won't change. So it will change, you know, take a total overhaul of our mindset, leadership structure and everything to actually curb this. We'll take some more of your comments and take our final video blog. Karim Fuseni says they should face the laws of the land. Kennedy Asare Bequin, criminal at the highest level. Those guilty should be imprisoned for life. Gesman Emmanuelson, and yet people are shouting government is corrupt. Julo. Roland, you're a fine boy. Yes, I think it would help reduce it, but not putting an end to that since ghost names as a result of human manipulation with the e-payroll system isn't an exception, and that is exactly what I was talking about. You're just echoing what I was talking about. There is a human element involved, and so if the people do not change their mindset, then the e-payroll system will just be another payroll system just to help even, you know, facilitate what they're doing. Max Sayram says, oh, Ghana, we are losing our resources to corruption. These ghosts should be hunted and punished. God save Ghana. Samuel Class says, I think they deserve jail, period. Isahaku says, sack the head of the institution. Isa says, I think that is a very good step by the staff, but I think that is not enough. They should go to the grassroots and fight corruption. It is not only the health sector. They should come down to the educational level. They will weep. The Simon says those caught should be interrogated as to why and how this should happen, and all persons behind it should be punished. Richie Loving TO2, corruption panye. She Ghana. Christian says they must be jailed. Baba Musa Tamale says the issue of these ghost names is a serious problem in the public system. It continues to balloon the government wage bills, thereby denying government available resources to attend to the needs of other sectors. For me, I think that the e-payroll system would help greatly in fishing out most of these ghosts from the system. However, everything boils down to the attitude of the Ghanaian public sector worker. Pack says evil revelation hour. Thumbs up to JM administration. Umar says, wow, what a corruption. I'll take my final comment before we take our last video blog. Ambrose says, seriously, this is absolute corruption. How come they got into the payroll? Well, they did, because it is paperwork after all, and somebody does the writing so they can edit as they please. This is felony in the highest order. Hey, Ghana. Francis just says, crucify them. And on that note, we'll go and take our final video blog, and we are asking, what should be done to those who are found guilty? I don't even know if, Kolebu is hoping to do anything, but what they're saying is that it is not in their power to prosecute anybody. So it would be in government's power to, investigate further and prosecute anybody if they so desire. But if they are found guilty, if anyone is prosecuted and found guilty, what should be done to them? You've been sharing your thoughts on that. Let's take our last video blog.
Actually, there's nothing the government or the authorities of Kolebu can do about it at the moment, because I think it has happened and it's gone, right? So I would suggest that they should let it go. But I think the future is the most important aspect, that they need to see how to put things in place, a better system that will help each and every one of the country. Yeah.
For the first place, who implemented it for them? You understand my question? Who implemented it for them? If they didn't just get it there, somebody did it. So those people must be punished. You understand? Those people must be punished.
For now, it's going to be difficult to say that let's arrest them or prosecute them. I think the people should be identified. They should be identified. But the most important thing is to prevent it from happening again.
So we'll take some more of your comments. Isa says, backdating of appointment letters by directors of education, stealing the government, using workers' appointment. Oh, God help Ghana. That is what you're saying there. Mahama Asafu Musa says, I'm just wondering what will happen to our leaders and heads of state officers when they die. 1,052 ghost names. Ghanaians. Crucifix David says, sack them like Vic. No time to waste. Roland, your boy fine boy, says those found guilty should be banished from Ghana or be sentenced to death by hanging, since these people can kill. Wow, that is very, very harsh. Caption Samuel says, block their salaries for. Yeah, that's what you're thinking. Okay, Stephen says most of the times we hear of committee findings, results, and reports. People are found culpable, but no actions are taken. Even if actions are taken, it takes years. The law should take the bend. Umar says they should be punished. Oh, Ghana, corruption everywhere you go. Raymond Anofrimpon says, so are we at all finding panacea for this canker called corruption? The head of the fish is rotten, so the rest of the body can't be any better. Osei says, oh, I'm a Ghana, sorry. NDC and corruption is like cripple and floor. Roland says they should be trained by Anasare so that they can rob World Bank. This one is so funny. I think I'll skip it. You're just making me laugh my head off. I'll take my last comment before we go. You're saying there's a new I'm not really getting this one, so I'll take another one which I can read. And all the people do is insult government, only see where real corruption is, and that is where we okay, I'll take my last one, because after all you are the last in the line, so let me take you. Korogo Steven says, so these ghost names also took single spine in their race. That is Bukom Banku said, if you go school too much, you are a thief. Thank you so much. You have made my day. At least I've come back smiling, and thank you so much. After all, the show is all about you. Bright is back, so that we.
But I want to see a ghost worker. That's all I want to see. If I see a ghost worker, I think my year has been.
No, I wonder how the ghost worker will look like. We're clad in a white calico with holes in the eyes, creeping through to say, "Nana, I am ghost worker."
Right. And at 8 o'clock, we'll also tell you the plight of the Senior High Technical School and the Demonstration School for the Deaf at Mampo in the Eastern Region. Now, the school authorities are saying that they have not received any response to a letter they wrote to the Regional Ghana Highway Authority to address the road safety challenge in front of the school. Vehicles were told speed past them whilst the kids walk to school and to their dormitory. Israel will tell you more at 8 o'clock.
And also to expecting news at 8 with Israel Aye. Financial analysts have called for the 2014 budget statement and economic policy to address the overrun budget deficit by finding more innovative ways of revenue collection. They also want the budget to critically look at the wage bill and particularly solve the challenge of unemployment in the country.
And definitely one of the innovative ways of improving revenue is to make sure that you arrest all the ghost workers.
Exactly.
Right.
Not just introduce e-payments, just physically hold them and say, hey, ghost, come here.
Stop working, you'll be fine.
Stop working, you'll be fine.
That's how we're wrapping up the show for now. Thanks so much for your time. We'll join you exclusive coming up next. My name is Bright Nanamfo.
And as always, my name is Marian Toure. Have a fabulous evening.